democracy allows for fair hearing. This is reckless. This is ungodly.
When news break, we engage experts in critical analysis.
Do you see your party coming into power come 2019?
This administration will succeed and succeed well.
You cannot be running a 4-year tenure like you are running a 20-year tenure.
He has done fairly well, especially where insurgency and terrorism is concerned.
Then it gets controversial.
They have a right to their opinion. Can we, very interesting gentlemen, just hold on.
I am about principle and I am about focus.
Now, you see, let me
say
this. So that our soldiers will be free, we should also ask for justification.
Core Digest, your #1 program for current issues. Back on the program. Well, this morning we were talking concerning the influence of social media on the polity, the fact-checking process. Well, these days we get to see news on the social media, information on the social media, and you are between the devil and the deep blue sea. Which one do you need to pick at this time? Which one is real? Which one is genuine? Well, I have here with me in the studio this morning the Nigeria editor, Africa Check. He is also a journalist talking about David Ajikobi. Many thanks for joining us this morning. Well, the social media at the moment is always filled with different information.
Yes.
And sometimes you'll be wondering which one do you pick, which one do you take, where do you give that selective attention, selective retention, and all of this. How do you get to know facts on the social media and you not just be hold sway with what anyone is putting or uploading on the social media?
I think the first thing to say is that social media has become a very critical part of our lives. About 10, 15, 20 years ago, I mean, we all stuck with traditional media, but now, you sell, you buy, you do practically you can do practically everything on social media. Right? So it's become, a critical part of our lives. So we see that, people, the kind of information across all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, on Facebook, name it. We see that some of them, not all of them, might be suspicious, might be malicious. Some are just false news, fake news, and deliberate misinformation, which is disinformation. And we think at Africa Check, we realize that the quality of information you are available to on any media platform, on any media space, affects outcomes. So, for example, during the Ebola crisis, and and I'm sure somebody sent it to you, baked with salt, eat with salt, and you would realize that it's funny because think about it that you are media literate. Imagine Mama Seki in Oyo State who has a small phone and saw it on her phone, and somebody sent it to her and said, "Bathe with salt, drink salt water to avoid Ebola." You see how
some did
exactly, yeah, some did. So you can imagine. So false information on social media can lead to financial ruin. Remember the case of the Ponzi. Paid for Ponzi, MMM, you understand? Can lead to financial ruin. Can even cause death. So, for example, during one of the immunization rounds, somebody went on radio and said, "Don't let your kids take immunization." And it went on Twitter, on Facebook. People were sharing it on Instagram, outside Facebook platforms. And before the very next day, 6 immunization officials were killed in Kano State. So one of the things we do at Africa Check is to by fact checking and helping people to understand that, look, any information you see on social media, it's you have to be a critical thinker. Not everything is there for your own good. There are some people somewhere, they are bots, they are Britannica analyticals of this world who are in places trying to deliberately misinform you, which is disinformation, So that's essentially what we do.
Okay, why you're here this morning is to inform Nigerians.
Yes.
How do I get to see information on the social media and able to recognize that this information is true or not?
Well, I mean, one of the things we do at Africa Check is that we also produce guides and tips for people to recognize false information online. So if you go to www.africacheck.org, there's so many of those things there. But I think for, off the top of my head, I'll tell you that when you see first thing you do when you see any information on social media, first chill, calm down, calm down. Many of us are very quick to retweet. Many of us are very quick to copy and paste and send to like or send to all of our family members. But sometimes just take a pause. Then the second thing is that look at what kind of information is this? What is the likely impact of that information? So, for example, somebody is tweeting that there's a bomb blast in Ikorodu, just hypothetically, and you copy it, you send it to all your family members or something, or you broadcast it. You know that it could possibly cause panic. You understand? So the second thing you do is look who is tweeting this. Who is posting this on Facebook or on Twitter?
So you have to get to the point of getting to know
exactly
the identity of the person posting such information.
Yes. Look, everybody's got an interest, an agenda of sorts. So who is the person saying? Is it an opposition party person? Is that what he's saying? Is it someone, So you have to understand, and you also have to understand context. Many of us, so for example, I saw there was a tweet by a former media aide of the former president, and he said that President Buhari has not built any schools since he came into power. And it was trending on Twitter. And we said, okay, let's fact check this. Is this true? Because what you have done is that people who have seen that information might not understand the context. And the context is simple. The education policy of one government and another government might not be exactly the same. Will it be fair to compare two governments based on the number of schools they have built? Do you understand? And we did we fact checked it and we realized that no, it's not. Yes, Buhari has not built any schools, but at the same time, there have been licenses for different universities and so many other things happening in the educational sector that cannot be equated to just physically building classrooms and things like that.
Now, talking about there's this aspect of Cambridge Analytica.
Yes.
Where they were saying this medium was used to monitor people's, especially the president now, is social accounts.
Yes.
To use it to manipulate elections. What do you make of this? Vis-a-vis having the 2019 election coming at the corner.
I mean, I think this is a very interesting time. First and foremost, look at if you look at the findings, what we saw with Britannia Analytica, it wasn't just 2015. They also had an impact in 2007 elections. And what happened? They said they deliberately produced information into the media space to make people think with reports that the elections were going to be rigged. The elections are not held at that time. So it wasn't even just about Facebook and Twitter. That the elections were... So people already, the perception of people was that the elections were going to be rigged. So there was nothing you could do to make it look like a free and fair election. Move to 2015. We saw, they said they deliberately put together a video showing people being beheaded and things like that, just to smear, the sitting president right now. But I think for our elections for 2019, the bigger implication is
even telling people about his health conditions.
Yeah, health conditions and things like that. Yes.
Things like
but I think for 2019, the bigger implication is that social media is going to have a lot of influence in the next elections. Two, you're going to see more Britannia Analytica. That's just one. That's just
Cambridge Analytica.
Cambridge Analytica. That's just one organization. Believe me, there are many of them out there who are looking at your social media patterns. What are you liking? What are you tweeting? What are you putting out? And they are using these patterns, to expose you to different kinds of information.
Now, okay, you tell Nigerians what they need to be putting on the social media, because sometimes you will see people who will say, okay, now I'm having a headache now. They'll upload it on the social media, either Facebook or Twitter, okay, this is my family. We've seen cases, even on the newspaper, that robbers will tell you, we went on the social media of this particular person, and we used this to trace to know where it's working, the number of the children, the wife. So how do we have to be very careful what we put on the social media at the moment?
I mean, social media, it's a liberal space. You cannot censor people by saying don't post this, don't post that. Don't. I mean, you have the right and stuff to expression and things like that. But you have to understand that, what you post on social media might not have a direct impact on you, but will have a direct impact on other people. So, for example, if you make disparaging comments, if you make put posts that can either cause harm to a section of people, things that could cause incite violence, things that could even harm you, like what you said, security wise, I mean, the case of the kidnapper, I had a colleague some time ago, and he posted that he was in a particular place, and that was how he had a problem, and that was how we were able to trace him. You understand? So if it was the adverse way too, it would have been affected. So I think another thing you have to understand, that you have to be a responsible social media user, because what you post out there, what you tweet, can be used against you in the court of law, like we saw in the case of Ajikobi. You understand? And we all know what happened in that case. So you have to be a responsible social media user. We have laws in this country. I mean, well, some of them might be a bit like trying to censor what people put on social media, but you also have to be a responsible user in the first place.
Well, this present administration is indeed talking concerning using the social media for a lot of hate speeches.
Yes.
That there will be a monitoring team to monitor people, what you post on the social media. But my question this morning is that how do we control or censor that? Because I can just pick up my phone now and put anything on the Facebook or my Twitter account or Instagram. How do we control that? Because election is by the corner.
Yeah,
we have to be very serious with this.
Yes.
We've seen cases whereby people posted a lot of false information there, and people will just take it hook, line, and sinker.
Yes, I personally, I'm not a fan of any form of censorship.
So you're saying no to censorship? Just hold on. Let's open the phone lines now.
Okay, all right.
To get the pulse of Nigerians on this. You're still going to tell me more about the advantages of the social media. Well, let's get your reaction on the influence of the social media on the polity. Well, let me let you know that you don't have that right to do any hate speech here. That's what we do here. You don't say what you cannot verify, what you cannot give factual evidence on. Thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning. Reduce the audio of your TV set. These are editorial policies so that we can have that smooth communication on the program this morning. Okay, back to you, David. Talking about censorship.
So I personally don't believe in censorship, but I am an advocate of self-censorship. Now, it's a good thing that the government is trying to do things like advocacy, educate people that look, hate speech, putting out hate speech is a crime, could be injurious to people, could harm, could incite violence, and and all sorts. But I think that the major thing is you as a person, you as a user. You understand? It's about you as a user being responsible for what you put out there. So I mean, if there's some literacy around, look, don't put out something that could be injurious to somebody else. I mean, it just makes sense that people shouldn't, and people wouldn't. Yeah.
Really? So you just want people to just upload anything on the social media?
No, I'm not saying that. What I said initially was that to be responsible users, you cannot. Okay, so for example, you put out something that you know that I know will hurt you, or that even if I don't know it will hurt you, and it hurts you. Of course, the police can arrest me based on that, on the basis of that. So what I'm saying is, government is trying to control hate speech in that space, in the social media, which is a good thing, but I'm afraid I wouldn't want it to turn into any form of censorship, where people, you're monitoring people, monitoring, like we know how these things could be. But I'm saying that what we should be doing is more of literacy, more of educating people, and that's what we do at Africa Check, to tell people that look, this is how you identify fake news, this is how you fact check, this is how you should be a responsible social media user. That's it.
Now, when you look at the average user of the social media, whether Facebook, Twitter, okay, let's quickly join Peter. Peter is joining us from Bauchi. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Emmanuel. How you doing, my brother, from another brother?
Good morning, Peter.
Yeah, nice weekend, and I love your review of your newspaper review, yourself and the boss. It was a nice one anyway.
Thank you very much.
But I would have wished somebody was sitting on that seat.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later. All the same, your topic is okay, but it's just that this social media, just like you guys are talking about, has a lot of things, the negative and the positive. But looking at it with respect to the polity and the way the government is going about it, I really want to wish and say something too. It's unfortunate that the social media after the present government, and they know how they used it and what it did for them as well before they came into power. But on the other hand, I'm saying it like they are not trying to control the activities of on social media with respect to how it affects them and all that. And I think if just as much as they talk about the fact that things should be controlled and all that, I think it would have also been good, just as much as they respond to a lot of things, like on your paper review, yourself and your reviewer were talking about give us list, looters list and all those things, and they replied, by giving out a list and all that. If they had responded this way they responded on that way, I believe that they should have also been responding to a lot of things on the social media too. So if you want to play something and you stand for something, stand for it straight. That's just my take, and I believe that's the best way things can be done. Not making laws and not adhering to it. It's more or less like imposing your authority on people and all that.
Thank you very much, Peter from Bauchi. Well, Peter, they're talking that government should see the social media as a way of responding to the needs and aspirations of Nigerians. Now, when you look at the social media, the average user of the social media are young people. Now, you can tell between the ages of 20 to about probably 40, 50s. How did you see all the 60s going on the social media these days? Because you have more numbers of the young ones. Now, how can we use the social media positively now to make money?
Yes.
To make money and also to impact lives. Because these days you just see people share unnecessary information on the social media.
So I mean, from what one of the things the caller said, was trying to talk about using social media for political engagement. Now, so if you have a critical mass of Nigerians who are on social media, it's just imperative that any government, any business should, any government should, get on that space, to use that space to engage people politically, and which comes down to things like transparency. Something happens now, you tell people this is what it is before you even go on radio, on TV. I bet you if I tweet something right now, before you get time to prepare a script on TV or radio or something, it would have gone halfway across the world. You understand? So it could go quickly. It could be quickly viral like that. So I think it's a space for that. I think there's also a space for. We're talking about next elections. PVCs have not been, millions of PVCs have not been collected. That's the kind of space that you want to use to engage people. You're talking about how people can access better healthcare. That's the kind of space you want to use to engage people. So there are so many things, so many positive things. All of what they're trying to do at African Check, increasing the level of accuracy in public debates, evidence-based public debates, is essentially a form of solutions journalism. It's essentially a form of, look, let us help you identify the problem, and this is the solution. So you can use social media for social good. Actually, it's a strong tool for social good if it is used properly and correctly.
When you say argument on the social media, I keep wondering, can we win election on the social media?
Well, if like we saw in 2015, if the social media engagement or social media conversation amounted to the number of votes. I mean, well,
the likes and the comments. That's what I'm talking about. Because when you say likes, it's about millions. Okay, let's quickly join Tony from Jos. Many thanks for joining us this morning.
Hello, Emmanuel. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Hello.
Tony, we can hear you. Go on.
Yeah, I was watching your program when they took light. You know, Nigerian light is not.
Hey, sorry you.
I'm not financially buoyant to put it.
Okay.
So,
okay. Let me let you know what you are talking about at the moment. We're talking about the influence of the social media on the polity.
Okay. Well, I would like to contribute on the newspaper headlines you just addressed or you just mentioned. But first of all, let me appreciate your dressing. You look smart and you look like it. How would I call it?
I'm blushing. Okay. Oh well, Bossa was here and she didn't tell me.
You said?
Bossa was with me on the program this morning and she didn't tell me that I'm looking handsome.
Maybe enough to notice that. But I'm sure your wife must have told you that anyway.
Okay, yeah.
So keep it up, So the issue on the newspaper, especially on Obasanjo issue to Buhari. Well,
okay.
I will keep on saying that experience is the best master. That is number one. And there is no way a son can know more than his father. So what am I trying to say? The beauty of it that I've seen, because observing some good things that are not going well in this country. They started it all the way from Abacha and Babangida and co. So nobody can going wrong. It's good you see people pointing it out, then you take correction.
Okay.
So the beauty of it is that we still have elders that can see things going wrong and speak.
Okay.
Everybody to be quiet and things are going wrong.
Tony,
in this country, yeah.
What's your take on the issue of the influence of the social media on the polity?
Well, it's not everything that is dashed out in the social media that everybody should kill it. One has to investigate it before one, because we are into politics. This is a row of political whatever. So everybody into politics, they will dish out information that are not right. They dish out information that are, they are tearing. So one has to investigate before you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tony from Jos. You've made your point. Thank you very much. There's something in journalism that when you are in doubt, you leave out. Yeah. So your final words, advice to Nigerians at this time.
I'd start by saying, look, please, when you are engaging in that social media space, like I said before, there's a lot of false information, there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of distorted information, there's a lot of misinformation and deliberate and disinformation in that space. Be a responsible social media user. Check what if you are in doubt, check. If you are still in doubt, leave out.
Okay.
Yes.
If you are in doubt, check. If you are still in doubt, you leave out. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much
this morning. David Ajikobi is a journalist and a Nigerian editor, African Check. Many thanks for joining us on the program. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, I'll be joined by one wonderful guest. He's the longest marathon reader in Nigeria. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo, ẹnu ò ṣe, ariwo kọ́ ni music yo, empty barrel ló máa ń pariwo. Numbers don't lie and I don't shout, topping every chart and I don't make mouth. Olúwa ló ń ṣe èmi náà kọ́ o. Monday to Saturday I dey grind o, Sunday call me on mind o. Bàbá mi ló ń ṣe èmi náà kọ́ o. No be only you. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Empty barrel ló máa ń pariwo. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Ẹnu ò ṣe, ẹnu ò ṣe. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Empty barrel ló máa ń pariwo. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Ariwo kọ́. Your papa get money, you dey do anyhow. Stepping on the board, you forget tomorrow. Olúwa ló fún ẹ o, ìwọ náà kọ́ o. Àjẹpákó ni wá pẹ̀lẹ́ ọmọ lówó. Kó wá sọlé ayé ò dà wá máa yí lọ. Bàbá mà ló ń ṣe o, ìwọ náà kọ́ o. No be only you go make am. Ẹnu dákẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ o, ta ló help o. No be only you go chop life. Jẹ́ ń gbọ́ràn ọ̀rẹ́ o, má pariwo. Ẹnu ò ṣe, ẹnu ò ṣe. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Empty barrel ló máa ń pariwo. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Ẹnu ò ṣe, ẹnu ò ṣe. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Empty barrel ló máa ń pariwo. Ariwo kọ́ ni music yo. Ariwo kọ́. Ariwo.
Dekule Gold there talking about Ariwo Corny music, empty barrel, Lumang Paris. Well, it is the empty barrel that makes the loudest noise. I have here with me in the studio this morning the longest marathon reader, well, in Nigeria, in Africa. We're still waiting for the confirmation from the Guinness Book, World Book of Records. I have here. His name is Biode Treasures Olawumi. Man, thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you this morning. Thank you, Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Africa.
Reading for 122 hours.
Yeah.
Approximately 5 days. This is
5 days, 2 hours.
2 hours. This is not easy. What's the inspiration behind this?
I have been asked these questions a couple of times, and I always give the same answer. The streets.